our objectives, unchanged, on target, and on plan. Destroy missiles, launchers, and Iran's defense industrial base so they cannot rebuild. Destroy their navy, and Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. Our objectives from day one.
The defining moment of the Hormuz campaign came with a massive coordinated ground assault. The Third Infantry Division pushed forward from the desert in heavy armor columns, while U.S. Marines launched a simultaneous amphibious strike from the sea. Their combined objective: neutralize the remaining Iranian missile installations along the coastline and destroy the last naval vessels still threatening the strait. Reopening this critical waterway for global commerce depended entirely on their success. At forward operating bases across Kuwait and Qatar, soldiers of the 3rd Infantry Division entered their final readiness phase. Mechanics worked through the heat, running detailed inspections on M1 Abrams tanks and Bradley fighting vehicles, checking tracks, testing engines, calibrating fire control systems, and confirming every sensor was operational. Tank crews loaded main gun rounds, packed reserve ammunition, and secured heavy supply crates. Rucksacks were stocked with spare uniforms, field rations, medical supplies, water, and personal equipment. Platoon leaders walked the ranks, personally verifying that every vehicle and every soldier was ready for combat. The mood was focused and determined. All understood this was the final thrust to shatter Iranian defenses. Simultaneously, at 5th Fleet headquarters across the Middle East, Marines were completing their own high-stakes readiness checks. On the decks of amphibious assault ships, including the USS Tripoli, Marines loaded into amphibious combat vehicles and LCCAC hovercraft. Full combat loadouts were secured: rifles, body armor, and heavy packs. Vehicles descended the well decks and entered the water, tracks churning as they transitioned from ship to sea. On the flight decks above, CH-53E Super Stallions and MV-22 Ospreys spun up their rotors, prepared to carry additional Marine waves toward the shoreline. The Marines' mission was straightforward: strike from the water, link up with the Army's inland advance, and eliminate the final missile positions guarding the strait. High overhead, F-35 stealth fighters and B-52 Stratofortress bombers were positioned to control the skies and provide close air support. F-35 pilots conducted their final target reviews, confirming weapons loads and stealth configurations. B-52 crews finalized bomb loadouts and ran complete systems checks. Their task was decisive: strike Iranian naval ships and any remaining air assets, clearing the way for the ground forces pushing below. The operation launched with precise coordination. The 3rd Infantry Division's armored column began its push out of the desert. Tanks and Bradleys rolled forward in extended formation, shielded by attack helicopters running low overhead. The ground shook under the weight of the advancing armor. At that exact moment, Marines launched from the sea. Amphibious combat vehicles cut through the waves as they closed on the shore. LSAC hovercraft skimmed across the surface at speed, carrying troops, Humvees, and heavy equipment. As the hovercraft reached the beach, their ramps dropped, and vehicles drove straight onto the sand without slowing. From the air, paratroopers descended onto commanding high ground to secure the flanks and cut off any counterattack routes. As ground forces converged on Iranian positions, the air campaign intensified. B-52s released JDAMs in precisely sequenced patterns, striking coastal missile batteries and naval vessels positioned to block the waterway. The coastline lit up as launcher arrays and radar installations were destroyed in massive explosions. F-35s followed immediately with precision strikes, eliminating surviving air defense systems and vessels attempting to maneuver or fire. The Iranian naval presence was methodically dismantled from above, while ground forces pressed in from multiple directions. The 3rd Infantry Division's heavy armor delivered the concentrated power necessary to break through hardened defensive lines. Main guns thundered as tanks destroyed fortified bunkers and missile launchers beyond the reach of dismounted infantry. Marines from the amphibious assault cleared beach positions and pushed inland, linking up with the armored column and the paratroopers who had descended from the sky. The link-up was clean and rapid. Units converging from separate directions met, exchanged quick situation reports, and continued the advance as a unified force. The fighting was fierce, but decidedly one-sided. Iranian defenses, already degraded by previous operations, could not absorb the combined pressure coming simultaneously from land, sea, and air. Soldiers and Marines advanced under the cover of tank fire and close air support, clearing position after position. One by one, the remaining missile sites went silent. Naval ships that attempted to reinforce the coastal defense were either destroyed by airstrikes or forced into retreat. By the time the sun reached its peak, the last major Iranian missile battery guarding the Strait of Hormuz had been overrun and destroyed. The moment carried genuine historic weight. The first oil tanker sounded its horn as it passed freely through the strait. Dozens more followed, crews visible on deck as they observed American forces in full control of the coastline. The world's most critical shipping corridor was open again after weeks of blockade and tension. On the secured coastline, commanders from the Third Infantry Division, the Marines, and the airborne units stood together, watching as the American flag was raised over the final captured positions. The Iranian missile threat and naval blockade had been broken through the combined power of armor advancing from the desert, Marines striking from the sea, and air dominance from above. As the dust cleared and the last explosions faded into silence, the troops paused to look out over the now quiet waters. Tankers moved steadily through the channel, a visible confirmation that the mission had succeeded. The soldiers, Marines, and pilots understood the scale of what they had accomplished, not just for the operation, but for the hundreds of millions of people worldwide who depend on this waterway for energy and essential goods. The force began securing the area and preparing for the next phase. Their part was done. The Strait of Hormuz was flowing freely once more, and the world's most vital maritime lifeline was restored. Captain James Harlan's voice came through across every radio channel, calm and measured, all objectives secured, missile sites destroyed, naval threat eliminated. The strait is open. Outstanding execution by every soldier and Marine in this operation. The American flag flew high above the coastline. The mission was complete.